It's Money Mondays. I'm your host, Petty Officer Julia Brockman, and I've got our special guest, accredited financial counselor at Fleet and Family Support Center, Norm Okada. Mr. Norm, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Let's talk New Year's resolutions.
Man, it's right now, coming up in November. It's a great time to start thinking about how your New Year's. One of the things that we can do is pay down some debt, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So with that, there's a couple methods that people can use. One's called the snowball method, right? You know, like you throw a snowball, you like ball it up a little thing.
Yeah.
So snowball method says that you take the debt, you pay off most of your money from your paycheck will go to the smaller debts first. You pay those guys down. And the debts with higher interest rates, you put a little bit above the minimum payment on those. And then when you pay off the smaller debts, you take that money and you put that money on the other debts, right? So it's like snowball paying it down. And the biggest thing for that is a psychological boost because you pay off the smallest debts and then you get excited like, yeah, I did something.
Getting rid of one, yeah.
Exactly. And so, you know, another thing is I see with debt is like people have $20,000 in the bank, right? And they'll have a debt of $1,000 at 18%. I'm like, oh, why are you doing it? Yeah, why are you doing that? Pay it off, right? So the other method is called the avalanche method. You know, avalanche is bigger, right? Yeah. So basically you'll take the debts with higher percentages, you know, interest rates, higher interest rates, and then you pay most of the money on that, and then you pay down to the smallest debts.
So either start with the small one and work up, or start with the biggest one down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you knock off if you have a debt like say maybe $70, $80, knock that thing off first, right?
Yeah.
Because then you can put that whatever you're paying to that one, you can put it on the other debts.
Exactly. I know today I actually got a notification from I have the Apple Card,
Right.
And it lets me know whenever like my next bill is due, and I usually pay it fully every month.
Right.
But I got a notification. I guess I didn't pay early, and which I usually pay it early. And it was like, oh, your minimum payment is due tomorrow. I just paid it right then.
Exactly. Just go.
I was like, oh, I just forgot. It's like I think that's important too. Is like having notifications on your bills,
exactly,
and things like that.
And then we talked about, you know, I think a couple shows ago we talked about the grace period, right? So knowing when your grace period is, knowing like when you can pay that bill off without getting charged any interest. But I like notifications too. I get notifications from Navy Federals, things like that.
It's like I'm at least going to pay whatever is going to have interest.
Right, exactly. I'm not going to make them rich, right, and stuff like that. And then there's apps, like, you know, we talked, either way you do it, there's apps. Like there's an app called powerpay.org. It's actually an app, PowerPay, but there's also a website that you can go to. And it's manual. Like some people don't like Mint. We talked in the past about Mint.com. Some people don't like it because they got to put their things in there, their information, and they don't like that. So what they can do is PowerPay is do it manually.
And what does it do, though?
Basically, the problem with paying down debt is most people don't have what? A plan.
Oh, right.
They don't have a plan. So what PowerPay does, it gives you a plan. So you can log in there. You can put all your debts in there, right? And then basically you can have a plan on how to pay. You put a date. Like say you want to pay it off by June of next year, and it will show you how much payments. Like you can do the avalanche or the snowball, and it'll show you how to do that.
Okay, so it just like helps you track and plan how to pay down your debts.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you. First, we talked about paying off debts. That might be a New Year's resolution. And now we're going to talk about if you want to start a business.
Yeah, funny that you asked about that because in the last week, I've met two young people. One I met in the food court yesterday, a 20-year-old, and then I met a 25-year-old. They're both on ships, but guess what? They have clothing businesses. It's pretty cool. And I asked them how they did it. A lot of times they went on the internet, YouTube. That's how they did it. But it's a question that I get all the time. I'm an entrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur. How I do it. And so the first thing I ask them is that what's going to be your niche? What do you want to do? What kind of business are you going to start up? So I know we talked off the air of the different kind of business ways you can structure your business. One is called the sole proprietorship, right?
Okay.
And that's basically where the business is you, right? Now that's a little bit dangerous thing because if somebody wants to attack the business's money, they're going to come to attack your money, right? So basically you're intertwined with the business.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there's something called LLC, Limited Liability Corporation. That's where you and the business. So corporation is, let's say about incorporated. Basically it's run in the state. You incorporate in a state, New York, wherever you want to be. And basically when you become a corporation, you are separate from the business.
Okay.
So limited liability, that means limited liability, that if somebody wants to come after the business, right, there's only certain things they can do and they can't touch your money, your personal accounts. There's limited liabilities, there's S corporation, and there's corporations.
What's a S corporation?
And S corporations are like a little bit another take of a limited liability, but there's a little bit different protections that you get. First, limited liability, there's certain things they can take from you and stuff like that. S corporation, you're working probably pretty much more towards like a corporation. And then, so when you become a corporation, a lot of times you no longer own the business in a lot of cases. Like that's what happened to Steve Jobs, right?
Okay.
They IPO'd and they went to a corporation. Basically what happened to Apple is that he no longer owned the business. They had people who came in there and pretty much ran the business.
Like Apple just became its own
own entity. Exactly. So
so what would you say are the pros and cons, like for a new person, like for example, somebody starting a clothing business, what would you recommend?
So one of the things I asked these two gentlemen, and one of the things, like for me, we talked in the past, one of the things I'm thinking about doing is when I leave Fleet and Family Support Center is doing what I do now, doing financial counseling, but doing it as a corporation, right? So I've looked at LLC. I think for most small business, if you're going to be a small business person, an LLC is probably the best way to go for you.
Okay, and then could you then at some point change that?
Yes,
Kinda
definitely.
like
As you got
Apple
bigger,
did?
as you got bigger, you may have to change the name. I don't know how that works, to be honest with you. You have to go. I would recommend going talk to a lawyer, right, and seeing because you should go talk to a lawyer anyway when you get a business, right? Because basically, you're looking at tax protections, there's certain tax benefits and other things. So you want to make sure you're maximizing the profits that you're getting.
Okay, and then how does Boots to Business tie into this?
Oh, man. Thank you for bringing that up. Boots to Business is a great program. So part of the TAP program, the Transition Assistance Program, is Boots to Business. It's a 2-day workshop. I've taken it. It's awesome because the program is run by entrepreneurs. Actually, entrepreneurs come in there, and they're the ones who teach the class. So Phil Frazier, our TAP manager, is a point of contact for that. And basically what they do, he'll tell you what the schedule is. So it's a 2-day workshop. You get books with it. They talk about writing a business plan, talk about a lot of different things. Like we just talked about, how do you set up your business and different things pertaining entrepreneurship.
Okay, and then how you said it's part of the TAPS program.
Yep, part of the TAP program.
But if you're not going through TAPS, how
you don't
can
have to go through TAP. Yeah, it doesn't. It's part of TAP program as far as that, right? Because basically you're talking about something besides being in the Navy, but you don't have to be going through TAP to do it.
Okay, so how would somebody?
So
be
just
able
contact.
to do it?
Call. I would call 252-3372, right? And talk to Mr. Phil Frazier. They'll put you in touch with him, or email him at, I don't know his email address offhand. And then basically he can register. He'll tell you when the next. He'll give you the schedule, tell you when the next class is, and he'll register you for the class.
Okay. Awesome. So that's definitely a good resource that I'll be looking into myself for trying to start a small business. All right. We've covered New Year's resolutions, starting a business, the types of businesses. Now let's talk about, once you've got the idea, how to start a solid business plan. Yeah.
So you want to decide a couple of things, right? You want to decide what your niche is going to be. Basically, niche is what makes you separate from the people who are doing the same thing. Then you want to say, do you want to be local? Do you want to be national? How do you want to do it? And then you have to come up with how you want to fund this. Venture capitalism, do you want people, investors who come in from the outside? Are you going to a bank to do that? Now, if you do those things, you're going to have a business plan. That's one of the things they talk about, Boots to Business. And the business plan basically says, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is where we expect to be in a couple of years, this is where we get the money, and where we're getting the money from, and things like that.
Okay, so it's basically putting pen to paper so that an outsider can look at your plan and know exactly what your vision is.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to give you money for something, I want to know that you have a plan and you have like, hey, I want to make sneakers. Okay, what kind of sneakers do you want to make? How are you going to get that money to make the sneakers and stuff like that, things like that.
There was an interview that I watched some time ago where somebody asked Oprah Winfrey, they're like, you know so many successful people. What is the overall like connecting factor of like how these people become successful? And she said that the number one trait that she notices in people who are successful pretty much in any aspect is that they know exactly what they want.
Yes.
They know what they want and where they're going, and everything they do is moving them closer to that vision.
I totally agree with that. And that's why I think mentors are a big part. Whether you're starting a business, whether you're anything you do in life, a mentor, somebody who's been there where you want to be, who's already there, so can talk you through what they did. And one of the things I talk about in the TAP class is that if you have a mentor, one of the things you want to ask them is, how did they fail? Mm-hmm. I mean, having been successful is not, it's great, but what mistakes did you make along the way that could help me out, right? But I totally agree with that. They have a vision. Yeah, people who I think, if I look through my life and everything like that, and people, the mentors I met, they have a vision of what they want to do. They're not all over the place, here, all over there. They pretty much have a vision of what they want to do.
Yeah, and I think the big takeaway is like it ties into having a plan. It's like knowing where you want to end up so that then you can make steps towards that.
Exactly.
And I know I've been guilty of this before where I start off with an idea, but I don't really flesh it out completely.
Right.
So then it's just like kind of like treading water where I'm just kind of just making a lot of movement but no progress.
Yeah, and the thing is that a goal without a plan is a dream. Mm-hmm. If I want to go someplace and I don't have a roadmap that's going to take me there, I'm going to get there eventually a roundabout way, but I'm going to get lost in between that. And so, like you said, you have your goal of what you want to do, but you got to have a plan of how you're going to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell me about VWise?
Oh, great program. People don't talk about it enough. VWise is a program run by Syracuse University, partnered with the Small Business Association. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get more female veterans and spouses and excited about entrepreneurship. It's a 3-pronged program. The first part is that you go online and you do some classes or whatever. Mm-hmm. Second part of it is basically you go to a symposium. You'll go to Syracuse University because it's run by Walt Whitman School of Business, and you'll go there for a symposium. And the third part, which I think is the greatest thing, is after you complete the symposium, you'll be partnered with a mentor, another entrepreneur that'll help you reach your goal.
Okay. And then how can someone get involved with that?
Yeah. So if you go online, you Google VWise, it should come up, right? Mm-hmm. And just make sure VWise, I would put VWise and Syracuse University, and it should come up.
Okay.
Or you can contact me and I'll give you more information.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers it for Money Mondays. We covered quite a few things. And so as always, it's been a pleasure, Mr. Norm. I love talking about our Money Monday topics. I always like to look up things that I'm curious about to see what
that's the part I like, right?
So that whatever I'm curious about, because I'm the target audience.
Right.
It's like whatever I'm thinking, I'm sure many other people in my situation are also thinking. So as always, it's been a pleasure and another successful Money Monday.
All right. You have a great week.
You too.